Hello distinctive fam, today I am sharing with you all a tutorial for my belted wrap poncho, and the materials you will need is a letter M/N 9mm hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and of course some yarn. You will also want to have a tape measure on hand as well. So let me push these over the way so I can share with you about the yarn. So the yarn I'm using today is burnout worsted, and this is in the color Ultra Peach, and it is 100% acrylic, a number 4 worsted weight yarn. It has approximately 867 yards. So for this poncho, you are definitely going to need a larger amount of yarn. I am estimating approximately 1,800 yards of yarn, depending on maybe the adjustments that you make. But I will put on the screen how much approximately yarn that I use. All right, everyone. You can use any number 4 worsted weight yarn that you like. I did make one of these in the Red Heart ombre yarn in the color navy, and it turned out absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. And I just really liked how the colors played out from that ombre yarn. So if you have an ombre yarn or a color changing yarn that might elevate the look of the poncho, I have made one already out of that ombre yarn. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this beautiful peach colored yarn for a nice bright spring summer style poncho. All right, everyone. So let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. All right, everyone, to get started with the tutorial, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot. What we're going to do now is we are going to chain up the length of the poncho that we want it to be. And if you are comfortable with foundation stitches, you can go ahead and do that. If not, you can go ahead and chain up with me, and we will end up with the same result. But if you are doing a foundation stitch, you will need to use half double crochet foundation stitch. So what we are going to do is we're going to chain up the length of the poncho that we want it to be, and then we are going to go back and work in our chains a half double crochet. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain up 65 chains, and then I'm going to chain up one more so that I can use it as my turning chain and then work back into the stitches a half double crochet. All right, so if you want your poncho to be longer than that, then you can go ahead and add any number of stitches you would like. I would like to add in increments of 10. So if you are thinking you would like your poncho to be a little bit longer, then go ahead and start add an additional 10. So I did 65, so maybe you want to do 75. If you think that might be too long, then maybe you just do 55. All right, but I am about 5'6", so the poncho on the length at that number of stitches on me goes about 4 or so inches below my waist. So to me, that's a nice length for a poncho. So hopefully that information is helpful for you, because you can definitely customize this how you need it to be. All right, so we're just going to chain up a loop. We're going to do loosely because we are going to be working back into the stitches. So just go ahead and chain up a number of 65 and then add one more for your turning chain. All right, so I'm going to keep chaining mine off camera, and then I will come back and meet you back when I have my 65 chains plus one more for that turning chain. All right, everyone, I'll be right back. All right, everyone, I made it back. So I have my 65 chains, and I'm just going to chain one more for my turning chain. Now what we're going to do is go into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to work a half double crochet into that second stitch from the hook. And I like to go into that back bump of the chain just so that my front side or the bottom edge of the chain is that nice V or braided look. All right, so that is all I'm doing. I'm just going to yarn over and put one half double crochet into the back bump of my chain. So go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you back when I have mine completed. All right, and when I made it back, so I have all of my chains have now a half double crochet in there. So we should have a total of 65 half double crochets if you decided to make adjustments for yours, then make sure you have the number of stitches that you intended. All right, so for this, what we're going to do is we are going to work the center panel of the poncho first. I am going to be doing the brioche stitch down the center panel. I will show you how to do a few stitches so you can get the hang of it. Uh, However, if you do not want to do the brioche stitch, that is totally fine. You can change it out for whatever stitch you like. You will just need the width of this front panel to be between 10 to 12 inches. So as long as it can fit over your head, I wouldn't make it any smaller than 10 inches, and I wouldn't make it any bigger than 12 inches. I'm going to probably aim for around 11 for me, and that will give, because I don't like my ponchos to be too loose around my neck, so that'll give me a little bit of a closer fit while I can still put it over my head. So hopefully that is helpful information to you. So if you're going to do the brioche stitch with me, just hang on just a moment. If you are going to change out the stitch, then just make sure when you complete that you work in each stitch across, and then when you go back and forth this way, that this panel is measuring no less than 10 inches and no more than 12 inches. All right, so hopefully that makes sense to you. Go ahead and have fun, change it up. If this is your second time or third making this poncho, then definitely have fun with the center panel and change up those stitches to make each one look different and beautiful. All right, everyone. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and work the brioche stitch. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to chain one and turn. The chain one does not count as a stitch. That's just our turning chain. And what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and work in that very first stitch just a regular half double crochet right through the top of the stitch. Okay, so that's our first half double crochet. Let's go ahead and yarn over and do the same thing for the second stitch. Okay, so the next thing we want to do for the brioche stitch is we are going to work under that first half double crochet. So here's the top of our half double crochet. Here is the bottom of that first half double crochet. So we're going to work right into that space right there. We are not going to yarn over. We're just going to insert our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And now the next thing we're going to do is work into the stitch that has not, the very next stitch that has not been worked into. All right. So this stitch right here, which is in front of the second half double crochet that we made. Okay, so we are going to yarn over for this, and then we're going to insert our hook right into that next stitch. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 4 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so we went from that first half double crochet, and then we ended off into that third stitch. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back into the stitch in between that we did not go into. All right, so we did put a plain half double crochet there, but now we're going to work into the bottom of that. All right, so this was actually the second half double crochet that we did, just for reference. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go under that stitch, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we're going to go in front of the last stitch we worked. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up that loop, and yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so that is pretty much the basics of the brioche stitch. We're just going to continue that all the way down until we get to the last 2 stitches. When we get to the last 2 stitches, we're just going to put a half double crochet in each of those last 2 stitches. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show a couple more if you need extra help. If you don't, then just feel free to pause here and go ahead and finish your brioche stitch all the way down to the last 2 stitches, and then I will meet you back when I have mine. But first, let me go ahead and show you a couple more if you need that extra help. So we're going to go into this stitch here that we have not worked yet. We're going to go right under there, pull up a loop. Now we're going to go into the stitch, the next stitch that has in front of the last stitch that we worked. So we're going to go yarn over, insert our hook, and go in there, pull up that loop, and pull through all four. All right, so now we have to go into the next stitch that wasn't worked. See, because we're skipping this stitch here, and then we're moving forward here. So that when we go back to do our next stitch, we'll be doing this one. So see how we're skipping forward into this stitch here when we do this next part. So that means this one was left unworked. So we're going to go under there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then we're going to go forward into this stitch and finish off our half double crochet. Okay, so that is pretty much the idea of the brioche stitch. So hopefully that was helpful for you, and feel free to rewind this part as much as you need so that you can be comfortable with this beautiful stitch. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I will meet you back when I have mine all the way down. Remember to just work 2 plain half double crochets in the last 2 stitches. I'll be right back. All right, everyone, and I made it back. So I made it all the way down to the last 2 stitches. So I'm just going to work a half double crochet in those last 2 stitches, and then we are going to go ahead, chain 1 and turn. Now this next row is pretty much going to be the same thing, and we are just going to work that brioche stitch all the way across till we get to the last 2 stitches, and then we will put a half double crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. Then we will chain 1 and turn. If you are feeling comfortable with those instructions, then go ahead and work your panel until it gets to no smaller than 10 inches and no bigger than 12 inches. I'm going to aim for around 11 inches. So I will leave on the screen how many rows that I'm going to do for mine. And then you can measure yours to check and make sure that that number works for you as well. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get you guys started, and then I will go off camera to finish mine. So the first 2 stitches are just a half double crochet. Okay, now we're going to go under that first half double crochet. We're going to pull up a loop, and then we're going to go yarn over and insert our hook into this next stitch that is unworked. All right, so we did the first double crochet, the second double crochet. This one has not been worked. This is that 3rd stitch. We went under the first one, and now we're going to work into this 3rd stitch, a half double crochet. Okay, so we're just pulling through all 3. Now this one, we kind of skipped forward to finish off that half double crochet. So now we're going to work back into this one. We're going to go under that, pull up a loop. Now we're going to skip over this one and go forward here into this next stitch. And we're going to finish off our half double crochet. All right, so we're going to go back into this one and then move forward into the next. All right, so we're going to keep doing that all the way down until we get to the last 2 stitches, and then we are going to work 2 half doubles in the last 2 stitches, chain 1 and turn, and we're going to continue that process until you get the number of rows that I had on the screen. All right, everyone, so I will meet you back when I have mine done. All right, everyone, I made it back. So I have a total of 18 rows for mine. So this is right here is actually the foundation row with the half double crochet. So I'm not counting this row, but all the rest of the rows here. So this will be row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So I did a total of 18 rows, and that gives me approximately 10 inches. And so that is going to be wide enough for me to fit that over my head. If you feel like you need a little more space for it to get over your head, then you'll want to work a couple more rows. I wouldn't do anything more than 12 inches though, because I think that might be a little bit too big. All right, and that's all we're trying to do, is make sure that we have enough rows, because this is going to be the space that we leave open for our head to come through the poncho. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work the body of the poncho. So this is, the front panel is part of the body, but then we still need to work some rows this way and evenly again on the other side, but we're not going to do that. We're going to completely finish off this side before we move on to the other side. But we will work symmetrically. So we definitely want to make sure this is centered in the middle, like right under our neck. And then we're going to work some plain rows just to get to our shoulder a little bit. So I'm going to do 3 rows for mine. I'm a size extra large, so if you are bigger than an extra large, what I would recommend you do is maybe add a couple more rows. So if you're a 2X, then instead of doing just 3 rows, go ahead and do 5, and just for each size up, add 2 rows from there. Okay, but I think everybody should go ahead and add at least the 3 rows. All right, and then what we're going to be doing after that is we are going to begin some decreases. So let's go ahead and work our 3 rows plain of we're going to switch over to double crochets now, because we just want to have the brioche stitch in the mid center panel, and then we're going to go ahead and work double crochet. So this will go a lot faster as we're working the double crochets. All right, so we left off on a brioche stitch row, but now we're going to switch over to double crochet. So all we're going to do now is we're going to chain up 2, and the chain 2 will not be counting as a stitch. So we're going to yarn over and insert our hook right into that first stitch and work a double crochet, and that is our first double crochet there. And then we're just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across. And when you get to the other side, you're just going to chain 2 and turn and work a double crochet in each stitch across as well. And then you're just going to do that until you have done at least 3 rows of plain double crochets. If you are a larger size and you would like to add a little bit more, then go ahead and add a total of 5 rows of double crochet. All right, so go ahead and do your 3 rows of double crochets, and I will meet you back when I have mine completed. All right, everyone, I made it back and I did my 3 rows of double crochets. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start decreasing. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to be decreasing on each end. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just, instead of chaining 2 and working that first stitch, we're just going to work right into this second stitch. So we're not going to chain or anything. We're just going to yarn over and insert our hook into the second stitch so that we can do a double crochet in that second stitch. And then we're going to ignore that first stitch. Okay, so technically we decreased the stitch here, and then this would be the top of this stitch, but when we come back, we're actually not going to use that stitch either. So if you would like, you could place a stitch marker on this if you need to, but if you don't, then it's not necessary. But all we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet and each stitch across until we get to the last 2 stitches, and then we're going to decrease in that last over those last 2 stitches. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in each stitch across, and then I will meet you back on the other side to show you how to do the decrease over there. All right, everyone, so I made it to the other side and I just have these last 2 stitches left. So what we're going to do now is decrease these over these last 2 stitches. So we'll only be decreasing 1 stitch, but it happens over the 2 stitches. So we're going to take 2 stitches and make it 1. So we're just going to yarn over like we're doing a double crochet, insert our hook into the first stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. We're going to pause there. Then we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. All right, so that last step takes those 2 stitches and makes it into 1 stitch. Okay, so now we have 1 stitch decreased on each side, and what we're going to do now is we're going to continue this same pattern until we get to 4 stitches. All right, so all we have to do is we're just going to turn our work. We're not going to chain because we're going to decrease. We're just going to turn our work around, and then we're going to do the same thing we did on the last row. We're just going to yarn over and insert our hook into that second stitch, and then we're just going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and finish off our double crochet. All right, so this gives us a nice edge there. If you are having a hard time seeing where your end of the stitch is, you can always mark it, and that way you will know when you're working back. But other than that, we're just going to go ahead and continue our double crochets all the way across. Now, if you are a larger size, if you are larger than 1x, then what you would do is you would do this decrease every other row, at least for, I would say, 6 rows, and then you can decrease every row if you feel like that that's going to be enough. You just need a little bit extra. So I will go ahead and decrease every other row for 6 rows, meaning you just decrease the first row with us, then your next row will be plain. That's 2 rows. Then the next row you decrease, that would be row 3. Then the next row you work plain, that would be row 4. Then the next row you decrease, that will be row 5. And then the next row you decrease, you will just do a plain row, and that would be row 6. Okay. And then after you finish that plain row on that row 6, then you will go ahead and decrease every row like we're doing. Okay. Because what we do want to do, what our end goal is to get this wide enough. Remember, this is going to be centered though. So whatever we do on this side, we're going to do on the other side once we complete this side. So you do have to take into consideration that this is in the middle part of your body. So this is already going to be covering some of that front section there. So you just want to make sure that this is going to be wide enough to wrap around your body. And then we're going to make a belt, and that will cover the rest. It's not going to cover your whole entire body. It's going to wrap around the sides. And then the belt will continue to wrap around your back and then come forward. So that's all what we're trying to achieve with this, to make sure we have enough width to cover around the side of our body, and then the belt will take the rest, for the back and everything. So that's why you probably only need to do every other row just for a little bit, and then go ahead and do every row, because we do want to get down to a very small number of stitches when we're doing this decrease, and then we're going to go right into the belt. All right, so it's just going to kind of decrease like that, and then we're going to go into the belt. All right, so hopefully that makes sense for anyone who is a extra size. And go ahead and continue on with our decreases. So if you want to see me get to the other end, I will show that one more time, and then I'll finish mine off camera until I get to the number of stitches that we need to make our belt. All right, so let me go ahead and work to the other side down here, and then I'll show you that decrease one more time, and then we'll go ahead and work off camera and meet back. All right, so give me 1 second. All right, everyone, so I made it down to the other side here, and it looks like I have 3 stitches left, but this is actually only 2 because this is the one that we decreased. So we're not going to actually work into that there. So we're just going to decrease over these last 2 stitches. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that first stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3. All right, and then that way we have decreased on that side as well. Okay, so you want to make sure you're not working into these decreased stitches. Okay, so then all we're going to do is we're going to turn our work, and then we're just going to continue in that same pattern until we get to the number of stitches we needed for our belt. And then we will I will come back and then show you how to work the belt. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue decreasing just as before. I'll get us started with this row here. So we're not going to chain or anything. We're going to skip this first stitch and just double crochet into that second stitch. Okay, just like that. All right, and let's see this one right here. That's where we skip that stitch. So that's why we don't work back into that, because we don't want to increase where we're trying to decrease. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and work one double crochet all the way across until we get to the last 2 stitches on the other end, and we'll decrease there as well. Just keep on repeating those same instructions until we get to the number of stitches we needed for our belt. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and work on mine off camera, and I will meet you back when we're ready to start the belt. All right, everyone, and I made it back. So I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches left. So I'm just going to work one more row. I'm going to skip that first stitch and just do a double crochet there, and then double crochet in the next. And then I have 3 stitches, so I need to do one more, and then I'm going to decrease over these last 2. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm left with 4 stitches here. If we were still decreasing, I wouldn't even work into that, but I do want to have 4 stitches to work into. So all I'm going to do now that I'm done with my decreases, and I've decreased until I've gotten 4 stitches left, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, so now all we have to do is work 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches. And this is going to become our belt. So now I'm just going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm just going to keep doing this, working single crochets in each of these 4 stitches. Then I'll chain 1 and turn, and keep doing that same pattern until you get a belt that is long enough for you, however long you would like your belt to be. It doesn't have to be a certain number of rows. Although when I finish mine, I will post on the screen how many rows that I did, so that you can have at least an idea of about how many you should have. But of course, you can make it as long or as short as you would like. But it does. This is the belt that I'm using to wrap around and tie into the front. So it wraps. After the decrease part wraps along the side of your body, then this will come all the way around your back and crisscross with the other belt that we will be working on after we complete this side, and then it will come back in the front to tie in the front. Okay, so that, keep in mind, that is what you're making the belt for, so that'll help you get an idea about how long you might want your belt to be. But this is all we're doing, is we're just single crocheting back and forth in rows in each stitch, each of these 4 stitches, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to continue that until we get the length of belt that we would like. So this is just going to be 1/2 of the belt. You are going to have another half of belt that we will work on when we get to the other side. All right, so once you have your belt the length that you would like, come on back to the video and I will meet you back to show you what to do next. All right, everyone, I'm gonna keep working mine off camera and then I will meet you back. All right, everyone, I made it back and I finished my belt, and I actually did 70 rows, and that's long enough for me. Let me see if I can see how long that is. The measuring tape for you guys. Let me measure that with the measuring tape for you. All right, everyone. So I went ahead and measured it, and I'm getting approximately 30 inches, and I did 70 rows of the single crochet for my belt. So hopefully that will help you decide how long you want to make yours. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and get ready to fasten this off. So I need to, oops, I'm pulling the wrong way. Let me shorten up my tail a little bit. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave myself a tail to weave in and pull that through to finish off. Okay, so we're done with that side of the poncho. Now we're gonna work on the other side and we're gonna do the exact same thing. So we're gonna go ahead and attach the yarn onto the opposite side. So this is gonna be the side with the foundation, or where we started our work at. So this is that row of half double crochet. So we're going to connect our yarn right there. And actually, this is a little tip I've been doing lately. So I really don't like to weave it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and knot this into the beginning tail. And that way that leaves me one less end that I have to weave in. So feel free to do that as well if you would like. So I just tied one end of the yarn onto the tail, and then I tied that other onto the new working yarn, and then I'm just going to slide that together and pull tight, and then I am going to snip that off, and then that way I don't have to worry about weaving in the end. You may see the knot there, but I don't think it's going to be too noticeable, so I'm not worried about that. Now if you notice, we don't have a beginning loop. Normally we start with a loop on our hook. So I'm just going to insert my hook there. So I'm just going to pull up a loop there, and now we have something to work with. So now all I'm going to do is make a double crochet. So I'm just going to yarn over and then go ahead and insert my hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2, and then pull through 2. All right, so it's not the most prettiest stitch there, but I don't think it affects it too much either way. So I'm happy with that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and continue working working one double crochet in each of these half double crochet stitches on this opposite side of the poncho. All right, so pretty much what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be doing the exact same thing. So we're going to start off with that 3 rows of double crochet. If you did something different than the pattern, then you will follow the number of rows that you did. And then once you have that, you're going to go ahead and start those decreases. Once again, it's going to be decreasing every row unless you are a different size and you wanted to go ahead and do yours every other row. So basically whatever you did to your poncho on the opposite side is what you're going to do on this side. All right, so for me, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 rows of double crochet. Then I'm going to start decreasing every row, and then I will begin to work my belt. So once you have all of those things completed, then you can come back to the tutorial and we will begin working on the back. So once you have that done and you have the length of your belt completed, then you're going to go ahead and fasten off, and then you'll come back to the video and I will show you how to begin the back. All right, so go ahead and do this other side of the poncho for the front panel, and then we will meet back to begin the back. All right, everyone, I will meet you back when I have mine done. All right, everyone, so once you have finished your front panel completely, all we're going to do now is begin on the back. So pretty much it's going to be the same thing we did to the front as far as the brioche stitch, the center panel brioche stitch. So we're going to start off with that. So go ahead and make a chain the same number of stitches that you did the front if you did different from the pattern. But if you wanted the same size, if you want it to be a little longer in the back, I like mine to be a little longer in the back, so I'm going to add an extra 10 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and chain up the same as I did for the front, but I'm going to chain up an extra 10 more stitches. So once I have that done, then all I'm going to do is go ahead and work half double crochets into the back bumps of the chain. And then after that, I will begin the brioche stitch. So I'm just showing you what I would do. But of course, you want to have enough chain. So once you get your number of chain and you worked your half double crochets all the way down, then you're going to start your brioche stitch. So just to give you a little bit of a refresher, all you have to do is you're going to do a half double crochet in the first 2 stitches. And then you're going to go under that first stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now you're going to go in front of that second half double. You're going to yarn over like you're doing a half double, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and pull through all 4 of those loops. Okay? So now we're going to go under that second one. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So we kind of skipped that one. Now we're going to go back to it. Now we're skipping over this one and we're going to go into the one in front of that to do our half double. Oops, I forgot to yarn over. Yarn over first and then pull through. And then now we're going to go into that one. Since we skipped it, we got to go finish that one and then go in front here. Okay, and then in the last 2 stitches, you'll want to just do half double crochets. All right. So you're just going to complete that. Oops. So that was just a little refresher. Of course, I have to go back and chain all of mine to do the back panel, but I just wanted to give you guys a little refresher on how to do that brioche stitch. In case you needed a refresher, you can always go back to the beginning of the video because we're going to be doing that same center panel. And so you're going to need the same number of rows as well, which I do believe I did 18 rows for that center panel of the brioche stitch before moving on to the next step. So go ahead and complete that center panel of the brioche stitch for the 18 rows. I'm going to be adding on an extra 10 from mine so that it can be a little bit longer in the back than it was in the front. And so you can make those adjustments. You can have it the same length if you want, or you can have it a little longer, however you want. It doesn't really matter how many stitches you do for the back. It's totally up to you. You can just make it the same as the front, or you can make it a little longer. Totally up to you. All right, so go ahead and work on yours. When you have your 18 rows of the brioche stitch completed for the back panel in the length that you need it to be, then come back to the video and I will show you what to do next. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and work on mine and I will meet you back. All right, everyone, so I made it back and I finished my center back panel with the brioche stitch. So now we're ready to expand on either side of the poncho, and this is for the back side. So we're not going to be doing any decreases on this side. All we're going to do is simply just chain up 2, and the chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to double crochet in that first stitch, and then we're just going to double crochet in each stitch across, and we're just going to do that all the way down. When you get to the end, you're going to chain 2 and turn. And once again, it doesn't count as a stitch, so make sure you double crochet in that very first stitch. And this is going to be the pattern we do for 20 rows. And if you are a larger size and would like to add more, I would just add 2 rows per side for each next size up. So this will probably fit between like a 1 to 2x and smaller. So if you want to go beyond that, then I would just start off with 2 rows for each side. All right, so once you complete your 20 rows for this side, you're just going to cut your yarn and join to this side and do the 20 rows the same way for this side as well. And that will complete our back panel. So once you have that done, come on back to the video and I will show you what to do next. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and work on mine and do my 20 rows for each side. And then I will come back and show you what to do next. All right, everyone, so I'm back and I finished the back part of the poncho. So this is what it's looking like so far. And underneath, I have the finished front piece. And if you notice, this part is like a rectangle, and this part is more of a hexagon shape. And I did that on purpose because what we're going to do now is we're going to actually connect the front and the back pieces together. And the way to do that, you can either decide to use your crochet hook, or you can cut a piece of yarn and use a yarn needle or darning needle to sew the pieces together. All right, so the way we're going to connect this is we're going to look at the panels that we did this brioche stitch. So if you chose a different stitch than what I did, then that is what you're going to be focusing on. And we're just going to make sure that they match up with the back, or I'm sorry, with the front. The front and the back are matching up. And then once you have that where it's matching up at, that is where you're going to start sewing. So you want to leave the panel that has the brioche stitch. You want to leave that open. That's going to be your next space. But where you started the 3 plain rows of the double crochet, where you started doing the double crochet, this is where you want to start seaming the piece together. Now, whether you decide to crochet it together or use the yarn needle, that is totally up to you. I will show you how I do mine in just a minute, but I did want to go ahead and kind of show you what I'm doing before we get started, and that way you'll have a better picture or idea of the process, or how their pieces are going together, I should say. Okay, so like I said, the front panel is more of a hexagon shape because it just decreases down here and then it goes into the belt. So once you have that matched up, you want to go ahead and you're going to start seaming it together here. And then when it drops off at, you're just going to match that up just like that. So you're actually going to physically manipulate it so that it matches up like this. So just it's laying flat like that, and then you're just going to bring it down to match. Now it's not going to go all the way down to the belt. That's perfectly fine. You just want to start sewing it or seaming it together right from where you left off at the brioche stitch, starting with those 3 plain rows of double crochet. You're going to seam it up there, and then you're going to seam it all the way down till you get to there. Okay, and then you're going to stop, and then you're going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. So you're going to of course leave this open for your neck area, and then you're going to come over here where you started those 3 rows of plain double crochet. You're going to seam that up, and then you're going to bring this corner down of the back piece to line it up on that angle and seam that up just like that. Okay, so that is how you are going to seam those pieces together. All right, and like I said, you can do that with the yarn needle, or you can do that crocheting. So I'm going to go ahead and take my crochet hook and show you guys how to do that. Let me go ahead and grab my materials, and I'll be right back. All right, everyone, I made it back. So I have my working yarn, and I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch to join right at the part where the double crochet begins after the middle panel. And I showed you guys that in the last clip. Okay, so just go ahead and join with a slip stitch. Okay, so I have just picked up 1 loop on each side, and then I'm just gonna pull the yarn through and slip stitch to join. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue that same thing. Now these are not single crochets or anything like that. It's kind of a raw edge, so it's not an exact thing that we're doing here. I'm just picking up 1 loop from each side and then slip stitching it closed to join. All right, so that's how I'm going to do this all the way down. Is just picking up 1 loop on each side and then I'm just going to slip stitch to join to join the two pieces together. So I'm not using the single crochet on this one. I just wanted to do a slip stitch, and that is how I'm seaming these two pieces together. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're not comfortable with that and you rather get a yarn needle and sew them together, you can do that as well with any stitch that you know. Mattress, backstitch, whichever one you're more comfortable with, and whatever works best for you, you can go ahead and use that to seam these two together. All right, so I'm just going to continue that down on this side. Once I have it all the way down to where the back piece ends, I'm just going to finish off there. So once I get down here, I'm just going to finish off there, and then I will do the same thing to the other side. Just make sure you leave that middle part open so that your head can have a space to go through when you are putting on your poncho. And then once I get all that done, I will meet you back to show you what to do next. We're going to be working on the edging, and then we have to do the neck edging as well as the edging for the entire poncho. So those are the next steps after we get it seamed together. All right, so go ahead and do yours on both sides so that it's all seamed together. And that's the only seams that we need to do. We're not doing any side seams or anything like that. We're just doing the shoulder and like arm area seams. And once you have that done, then you can come back and meet me to see how to do the edging. All right, so I will meet you back when I have mine done. And I made it back. So as you can see, I did this seam, and then I just ended off on this seam, and this is what it's looking like. Now I'm happy with that, so I'm gonna have this as the outside of my poncho. If you don't like the way this looks, or if that's too bulky for you, you can definitely flip it the other way around, and that would be the outside for you if you wanted to do it that way. Just whatever you prefer. But when you do this next step, you want to make sure you do have it where the poncho is going to be visible from the outside, or some people will call it the right side or the correct side of the poncho, the one that's going to be visible to the public. Okay, so once you have your poncho in that manner, then what we're going to do is we're going to start the edging. So now that it's connected, it's all one piece, and we're just going to go from one edge of the poncho all the way around to the other and end off where we started. And we are going to work an edging. Now this edging is going to consist of 3 rounds. You can add more if you like, or if you just think the first initial single crochet round is good enough for you, you can end it there. I would recommend at least doing the 1 row of single crochet, but I am going to be doing 3 rounds of, the first round would be single crochet. The second round, I'm going to come back and work a slip stitch in the back loop only of that single crochet all the way around. And then when I come back, I'm going to work into the slip stitches I just did and work another round of single crochet. So that is going to be the edging that I'm going to do for the entire poncho. And right here is where I ended off at. So it's going to be hard for me to actually physically do the stitches and record at the same time. I do have a stand, but if I wanted to get the angle that I'm holding the camera at right now, which is the angle that I'm going for, I would have to actually rest the stand on top of this poncho. And it's very wobbly because that is how I did it in the last video, and it did get knocked over a couple times, so it was kind of difficult for me to show you guys this, but I did want to show you at least that part. So for this next part, I'm just going to explain what I'm doing, and hopefully that will be good enough for you guys to go ahead and follow along. So I ended off right here, and I was doing the slip stitching, so I do have my loop where I could just slide my hook in. And what I'm going to do from there is I'm just going to work evenly single crochets along the edges, Now you do have to work along the belt. So that is why I didn't do that many stitches on the belt, because I knew I was going to work the edging and that's going to make the belt thicker. And so I'm going to work, you know, all the way along the belt, all the way, one single crochet stitch in each of the stitches or the edge all the way across. And then I'm going to put 3 in the corner, go across the top, 3 in the corner, come all the way back down the belt, and then I'm going to start working down on this part, and this is still the front. So you're going to work all the way down that angle of the front down to the bottom. Once you get the bottom edge, then you'll be working across the belt again. And so you do that bottom edge of the belt, then you go across here, do your 3 in the corners, come across the top edge of the belt, and then you'll come up to this other side of the seam, and then that is when you're going to be working along the back edge of the poncho. So you'll be working on the side edge first, then you'll go over to the bottom of the back panel of the poncho, and then you'll work across the bottom of the back panel of the poncho, and then you're going to go making sure you put your 3 stitches in the corner, and then you're going to go across the back edge or the side edge of the back panel, and then you'll come over here and end off where we left off. So you should be ending off right here again. Okay, and then once you end off here with that round of single crochets, if you would like to go ahead and do the other 2 rounds of the edging, the next round is going to be a slip stitch in the back loop only of that single crochet, and then the third one will be a single crochet into those slip stitches. All right, so hopefully that will be good enough instruction for you, because I'm not going to come back until I have mine completed. And then once I have mine completed, I will show you how to do the neck edging, which is actually going to be the same as what we did all the way around. Once you finish on the edging around the poncho, then you're just going to finish off there, and then you'll rejoin your yarn here with a slip stitch, and then you'll just work the same thing. You'll do a single crochet around, and putting a stitch evenly around, then a slip stitch in the back loop only of that, and then a single crochet. Now I'm going to try to come back and show you guys that part if you're not comfortable with it, but like I said, it is going to be the same as the main body of the poncho. So if you do feel comfortable with it, then go ahead and do that. And like I said, I will try to come back, but I am trying to get this done a little faster. So while I had the time to record and let you guys know the next steps, I wanted to go ahead and do that. All right, everyone. So I will come back when I have the edging done for the entire poncho, the entire 3 rounds. So the first round is a single crochet in each, just putting 1 single crochet evenly in the edging all the way around. And then the second round will be a slip stitch in the back loop only of those single crochets, and the third round will be a single crochet into those slip stitches. All right, so hopefully all of that will be easy for you guys to understand and follow, and I am going to work on mine, and then I will meet you back when I have it done. All right, everyone. All right, everyone, I made it back and I did the edging all the way around, and this is what the finished edging looks like with the 3 rounds done. So on the very first one, I just did a round of single crochet, then I did a slip stitch in the back loop, and then I worked a single crochet in the back loop of the slip stitch to finish it off. So that is the 3 rounds of the edging, and now we're going to do the exact same thing for the neck area. We're just going to go ahead and reattach our yarn, and make sure this is on the right side or the outside facing, so the way you want your poncho to be shown, make sure it's facing that way, and then that way your stitches will be on the correct side of the poncho. So I'm just going to join here in the corner. I'm just going to do a slip stitch to join. I'm just going to get you guys started because this is like a really weird angle for me. So I'm just going to slip stitch to join right here in the side here. And then I'm just going to work a single crochet evenly all the way around. Oops. So pretty much just you don't want to add too many stitches because you don't want it to start ruffling on you. So you just want to make sure you're putting it evenly spaced around. And then once you have gotten all the way around with the single crochet, then you're going to go back into it and you're just going to work a slip stitch in the back loop only of the single crochet. And then once you have done that round all the way around, then you're going to go ahead and work one more round of single crochet in that back loop of the slip stitch. All right, so it's just the same thing that we did with the edging here, but we're just going to do it on this neck area. Once you have completed that, you are all finished. You just have to weave in your ends and then you are ready to wear your poncho. All right, everyone, so I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to come back and share some pictures of me wearing it all finished, and please let me know what you think of this poncho in the comments down below. Did you follow along and make one with me? Do you have plans to make one? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. I would really appreciate it. Also, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you all in the next one. Stay tuned for the photos. Thanks for watching.